Hello again. This is Khalid Mustafa Ahmed, and we will continue the previous session about configuring the C89 directory server to employ it with our Kerberizing network file system version 4 data center. In the previous sessions, we seen that how to install and configure the basic server, how to create a self-signed CA, and how to create a server certificate signing request, then sign it with our self-signed CA, and then importing the certificates, both the certificates, into the 389 directory server database. In this session, I will show you how to enable the SSL TLS secure connections for both the 389 directory server and its admin server, and also how to enable the SASL authentication with the 389 directory server. So let's go and do it. Now to enable the SSL TLS secure connection for the 389 directory server, we need to run the console. Just log in as directory manager. Expand the tree and double click on the directory server instance, then select configuration, encryption, then click enable SSL for this server. Use this Sheffer family RSA. You can review the setting. Okay. You don't need to select the SSL version 3 shivers. You need only the TLS shivers. For this server. Then make sure that the encrypted port is 636 and the standard unencrypted port is 389. Then you can don't select use SSL in console at that moment. Then save. Change will not take effect until the server is started. Okay. Make sure the certificates and CA. Okay. Okay. Then close the console and restart the server. System CTL restart dir serve at now the server asking you to enter the database password you have created before during the last session. When creating the server certificate signing request, you remember that I told you at the time you have to memorize it, since you will need to use it every time you need to make any change, or when you need to manage your 389 directory server database. So you have to enter this database password. Otherwise the server will not start. Okay, to solve this problem and to let the server start without prompting you to enter the database password, you need to store this password in a text file and save it under the directory server instance dir. So change dir to etc dir serve slap media. Okay, this is the directory server instance dir. Now we need to create a file with name pin.txt, pin.txt. Inside this dir, just copy this and simply enter the password here. Then write and quit. This file must be read only by the directory server user, which is dir serve. So you need to change mode and change on. Okay, and if you have C Linux enabled on this machine, you may need also to restore the C Linux context on this dir. Restore con recursively etc dir serve. Okay, now if you try to restart the directory server now, it will not prompt you for the database password, since it will read it from the pin.txt file you just created. systemctl restart dir serve add media. Okay, and to check that the server is listening on TCP port number 389 for standard unencrypted connections, and on TCP port number 636 for secure encrypted connections, we need to use a netstate command. grep e grep dash 389 and 636. Okay, it is listening, but for IP version 6 address family. And to change that, to let the server listen for these ports on IP version 4, we need to change the values for some attributes under the config entries. These are the NS/D dash listen host and NS/D dash secure listen host. We need to change its values to becomes 4 dotted zeros. We can do that from the console, but I prefer to do it using the LDAP modify and LDIF file. But before using any LDAP clients like LDAP search or LDAP modify, we need first to make sure that the Open LDAP client package is installed on our system. DNF install Open LDAP clients. And the package is there. Now we need to modify the ldap.conf file to specify the server name and the server base DN. For that, we need to edit the file etc open ldap.conf and to specify the base DN for our server, which is DC Khalid MA, comma DC local, and the server Yuri, which is media dot Khalid MA dot local. And also, according to the man page of the ldap.conf, we can edit the following line: TLS underscore require cert hard. Okay. Right and quit. Now we want to create the LD file that will be used to let the server listen on IP version 4 address family. So in the home dir, we can select a suitable name like IPv4.ldiff. First we need to specify comment why we're using this LD file to let the server listen on IP version 4 address family. Okay, then you have to specify the distinguished name for the entry that have the attributes we want to change its values, which is distinguished name colon space cn config then the change type colon space. Here we need to modify the attribute value, modify, and we want to replace the NFSv4 lesson host then the value, which is 0.0.0.0, and second attribute must be separated by dash on its own line, and just copy these lines NFSv4 secure lesson host, and this also secure lesson host. Right, and quit. And to apply this file we use the ldap modify command, ldap modify with simple authentication -x, and we have to bind with directory manager cn equal directory manager, and directory manager password manager 813, and the ldap file we want to apply, which is IP version 4 ldif. As you see, the file applied, and the attributes get changed. Okay. Now we need to restart the directory server, systemctl restart dir serve at media. Okay, let's check again, and the server now is listening on IP version 4 address family. Okay, To check that the server is working properly, with simple authentication, we can use the LDAP search command. LDAP search, and we got a listing for the entire user date tree, even without binding to the server, which is a security problem due to the server and by default allowing anonymous read and search operation on the user date tree. We will change that in a moment, and only allowing anonymous access to the server root DSE entry. But before doing that, we need to first check the TLS secure connection to the server, and for that we need to run the LDAP search with dash double capital Z to issue the start TLS connection. LDAP search simple authentication dash ZZ. And the command gives an error, and this is because the client application, which is the LDAP search in this case, cannot trust the server certificate issuer. And to correct that, we need to copy our self-signed CA to the open LDAP cert dir, remember we have a copy of the CA in our home dir, so we need to copy it to the open LDAP cert dir. Copy home Khalid CSR to the ATC open LDAP certs. Now if we change dir to this location, we find the certificate authority is copied. We need to rehash it with CA cert rehash and the directory, the CA cert, we need to rehash the certs dir, then check. Okay, okay, now we need to tell the client about it. VI LDAP conf TLS CA cert and the location of certificate authority etc open LDAP certs ca cert.pem. Let's check. Okay. Okay. Now if we try again the command, and we got the listing, and secure connection is working also properly. Okay. To enable the sample authentication and secure layer on our 389 directory server, we need to create a principal for the LDAP service on our KDC, which is already running on the same host as the directory server we are configuring now, which is media.khalid.me.local. So we can use kadmin .local and list princess, and we have principal for the host but not for the service, and for that we need to added prince brand key and service name ldep dash media.khalid.me.local, and the principal is created. Then we need to add the principal key to the master key tab file. For that, just get the command key tab added key etc krb5 dot key tab, and the principal name, which is ldep media dot khalid me dot local. Okay. Also we need to create another key tab file for the directory server and added the host and service key to it. Key tab added let's select a suitable location, which is etc dir serve and file directory server key tab. Okay, we need to edit the host media.khalid.me.local to it, and the service which is ldep media.khalid.me.local, and just quit. Let's now change dir to etc dir serve and list. Where is it? We can inspect this file with key tab util read key tab ds.key tab list, and the dir server key tab file contain the host key and the service key. Okay, if we get a detailed listing, we find that the ds.keytab is read write by the root, and we have to change that to be read write only by the dir serve user. Change on dir serve so that the directory server can read it. List, and we change it. If you have C Linux enabled on this machine, you have to restore the context, C Linux context, recursively on the etc dir serve. And to check, okay, next you need to tell the directory server about the location of its GitHub file, and for that we need to edit the file etc sysconfig dir serve dash media, which is the directory server instance configuration file. Then you need to edit this line krp5 underscore key tab name equal etc dir serve and the GitHub file, which is ds.keytab. Okay, and we need to restart the server instance. System ctl restart $serve add media. Okay, now to check the SASL mechanism supported by our directory server, we can use LDAP search. With sample authentication and vault search base. With scope, search scope base. And we want to filter by the supported SASL mechanisms. Okay, as you can see, we have a lot of SSL mechanisms supported by our server, but actually, and for security reason, we need only to allow the external and the GSSAPI mechanisms. So we need to restrict the allowed mechanisms here. And for that we can of course use the console, or we can use the LDAP modify and LDIF file. So let's use the console at this time. And just login manager 8123 and just expand the trees and double click directory server directory and double click the config entry. Then you have to look for the attribute NFSv4 dash allowed SSL mechanisms, and that's it. We want to enter here external with capital letter, comma, GSSAPI for the mechanism we want to allow for this server. This one and this one. Okay. Close the console, and you need to restart the server. Okay, if you check again, we have only the external and the GSSAPI mechanisms allowed by this server. Okay, before checking that the SASL authentication working properly with our 389 directory server, we need first to create the LDAP users which will be used for the checking. Also, we need to create principals for this user on our Kerberos KDC that will be used for authenticating this user. We can use the 389 console for adding user one by one to the LDAP server, but this method is slow and boring, and it may take long time to do it. So I will use the console for adding only just one user and its POSIX private group to the LDAP directory server. Then, using the LDAP search command, I can get a list of all the attributes and object classes used by the console to create the user and its private group. Then we use it as a template for creating an LDIF file that includes all the other users we need to add it to the server. Next, we can use the LDAP modify command to apply the file and commit the change to the LDAP server. I get that this is a much more efficient way than using the console or even the migration tools, since it will help you to get familiar with using LDAP modify and LDIF file. But anyway, you are free to use the method you like for that. Okay, now let's fire the console and added the template user. And just login, manager 123. Okay, then double click the directory server instance and select directory, then select people and right click to create new user. Okay, let the first name is test, last name template, common name test template, user ID test. Forget about the password and the email test at local, phone whatever. Okay, POSIX user enable, let be 2000 for the group ID number, and the home dir home test shell bin bash gcos test template user. And we want also to add the postal address. maybe Egypt, Cairo, Dokke. Okay. Okay. And for the group, we need to add the private group for this user. Test user private group POSIX 2000. Okay. Okay. Then close the console. Now we need to run the LDAP search command to get the list of the dead tree from our LDAP server. LDAP search simple authentication. Okay, here is the test user we just added and its private group. Okay, then we need to create text file with suitable name like all user LD file. All users .ldif, and just copy the template user and its private group to the file. Okay. First we need to edit this entry to present one of our users that we want to add to the LDAP server. Let's start with user Khalid. So adding user Khalid. This is a comment. For UID it's Khalid, and given name Khalid. This is odd. This is 1000, and this is also 1000 for GID, and the email address could be Khalid at khalid@mail.local. Then this is the object classes. UID Khalid, home postal address Egypt, Cairo, Maadi 20. And for the GCOS, Khalid engineer, Khalid Mustafa common name Khalid and home. The home directory Khalid, and same thing with the private group, adding Khalid group. And this is 1000. This is Khalid. Description. Khalid private group. Khalid. Okay, last thing we want to do here is to add change type. Change type column space. In this case we want to add the entry, so the change type is added, and also here for the private group. Okay, then we need to repeat that for all the other user. We want to add it to our LDAP server, so we can copy and paste here. This is maybe for Omar. Maybe 5 and email Omar. Haram. Okay, on postal address. Omar. Mustafa. And for the group we can add a comment here also. Omar. And for the private group okay, Omar. Okay, and then we need to add it, change type is okay. Change type is added here, and we need to repeat that for every user we want to add it to our LDAP server. Save and exit, and here is the final file. For all the user we want to add it to our 389 directory server. Okay, now we need to apply the file and commit the change to the LDAP server, and for that we need to run the LDAP modify. With simple authentication, and you should bind with directory manager, cn directory manager, and small w to specify the directory manager password, manager at 123. Then dash small f to specify the LD file you want to apply, and just press enter, and the entries successfully added to the server. Let's now inspect the server to double check these entries. By firing the console, just login. Then expand the tree and double click the server instance and select the directory and people, and here is it. Can delete this test user, we don't need it anymore. Yes, and from the group also we need to delete it, and we have the user successfully added to our directory server. Now we need to add the user principals to our Kerberizing server, and for that we have to use kadmin.local, just list princess, and we need to add a principal for these LDAP users. And for that we use added prince for user Khaled, just give a password for this user and confirm it. Okay, and the principal is created, and for user ins added prince ins and give a password for ins. and confirm it, and it's successfully created. And for user Omar, added prince for Omar and confirm it. Successfully created. For Tariq, successfully created. For tax, successfully created. For user Gamal, successfully created. And lastly, for user Kamil, added prince Kamil, and successfully created. Now list principles, and we have a principle for every LDAP user we added to the LDAP server. For Tariq, for Tax, for Omar, for Khalid, for Gamal, for Ines, for Kamil. Okay, now queue to quit. Okay. Now you have to make sure that the system security service daemon and its related packages are already installed on your system. For that we can use the NF install SSD client, SSD common, SSD network file system ID map, network file system ID map, SSD KRB5 and SSD KRB5 common, KRB5 workstation, PAM KRB5 PAM underscore KRB5 and the NSS PAM LDAP diamond. Yes, I guess that's all. Okay, now we need to check that the NSLCD daemon is not running system ctl status NSLCD. Okay, it is not, and we need now to tell the system about our LDAP and Kerberos KDC, and for that we have to use auth config dash help. Okay, auth conf. We need to enable LDAP enable LDAP, and we have to specify the LDAP server, ma.local. We need also to specify the LDAP base DN, which is DC equal Khalid MA, DC equal local. We need to enable the LDAP start TLS for secure connection. Enable LDAP start TLS, yeah. And we need to specify the RFC 2307 bis schema. Yes. Also we need to specify the CSRT file. Remember, we have a copy of our self-signed certificate authority in Khalid Home Dire, so we need to LDAP load CSRT from file home dash Khalid list. Yes, here is it. And we need to enable KRB5 enable KRB5 and to specify the Kerberos server KRB5 KDC media dot ma dot local, and the admin server for Kerberos, which is also media dot ma local. We need to specify the Kerberos stream, which is in capital letter ma dot local. Okay, and we need to enable the system security service daemon. Enable SSD, and the SSD OS. We need also to enable make home dir. Where is it? Enable make home dir, and just update. Let's review it. Enable LDAP. Enable LDAP server, LDAP server location, LDAP search, LDAP based DN, start TLS, the schema file, LDAP load the CSRT file from this location. You can check it. Okay. Enable KRB5 and KRB5 KDC and admin, KRB5 frame. Enable SSD and its OS. Enable make home dir, and just update. Error downloading CSRT file. Why? Okay. Now let's check the system security service daemon configuration file, which is at etc ssd conf. Its content in the default domain, ID provider LDAP, AutoFS provider LDAP, OS provider KRB5, which is our Kerberos server, change pass provider KRB5 also, LDAP URI is okay, LDAP search base okay, DC Khalid Amido, comma DC local, LDAP IDU start TLS true, CSRT dir okay, KRB5 server media تخلي image local and key password. The ream is Khalid MA.local in capital letter. Cache credential true. KRB5 store password if online true. Okay. Can disable it if you like. Enumerate true. LDAP schema RFC 2307 bis, yeah. And under the SSD section we have this service enabled NSS PAM AutoFS, and the default domain is this domain. The home dir substring is home and nothing else, so everything seems to be good. Okay. Now we need to restart the SSD daemon. Restart SSD. Okay, let's check its status. Okay, nothing abnormal here, and the daemon is running happily. Okay. We may need to add the following lines to our ldap.com file. VI etc open ldap.conf, and we need the SASL underscore mechanism default to GSSAPI, and we need to specify the ream SASL underscore ream, which is Khalid ma.local okay, and just write and quit. Okay, let's now check the SSL mechanism is working properly or not. Destroy a list. Nothing in the cache credentials, so we need to add it to use kinit to get our ticket granting ticket. You have to enter the password, and then key list again, and we get our ticket granting ticket. Let's try to access the LDAP server now with LDAP search, and we got an error. Let's use very strange. Selected. Mm. Invalid credentials. Yeah, this could be this config dir serve media. Yes, it's Kerberizing. Yeah. Mm. And we need to restart dir serve system ctl start dir serve at media. Let's check again. Yes. And here's the indication that we are using the SASL authentication GSSAPI when connecting to our LDAP server. To double check, we can use kdestroy all to get rid of our ticket. List, we don't have any, and try again to access the server, and we get an error message. Now we have to get the ticket first before accessing the 389 directory server. Init host. Okay, then run the LDAP search and we get a response from the server. Okay, I guess it's enough for today, and we will continue later with the next session. So if you have any issues about this video, please comment me to let me know. Thank you for watching, and bye.